Hi, welcome to Coffee and Conversations. My name is Karim Rafan. I'm here with Michael from Golden Gate VC, partner. Michael, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
I know you travel a lot, and that's kind of what your job is entirely based around at Golden Gate VC, right? What do you do exactly?
Yeah, so it's funny. So I started out as a venture partner about 6 years ago, and my main focus was kind of fundraising for the company, but also for our portfolio companies. And if you fundraise for a company, I can go around Singapore and kind of meet family offices and corporates and
door-to-door approach,
and do sort of door-to-door. But it's also helpful to kind of expand your network globally. Because it's not just about sort of getting the money in. We're also looking for added value partners. So I tend to, of course, travel across Asia, but we're also looking for partners in Europe, in the US, in Middle East, in India. So I do travel quite a bit.
You seem to be comparing this life as a fundraiser for a venture capital firm very much to what an entrepreneur would do working for a startup. Is there some sort of similarity? What's your background? How did you get into this entrepreneurship, venture capital raising? What did you do before?
Well, I'm a former entrepreneur. So I'm an engineer at heart. So I was a software developer, worked for ING for a little bit, and decided with two of my neighborhood friends to start our own company. The funny thing is we never fundraised for our company. We were fortunate enough to have enough liquidity in our business to kind of fund our own growth. Although we never did fundraise. When my company got acquired, this is in 2006, I did sort of a small adventure. I was part of the Economic Development Board in Rotterdam, and we talked to prime ministers and the municipalities and mayors how to sort of encourage economical growth in the different sectors in the Netherlands. And part of my job, which is funny, I never asked for it, but part of my job was to help fundraise for kind of different government funds. So this was my first foray in fundraising. And it was super funny because, I literally kind of knocked on doors, said, hey, we have this amazing plan. Do you want to invest? Most people said no. But I did learn about sort of how do you strategize fundraising, how do you strategize your message, and it kind of stuck with me. When I joined Golden Gate, the first thing they said was, hey, do you mind helping one of our portfolio companies fundraise? And that's kind of how things got started. What I've learned is you do need to strategize when it comes to which investors do I want in my company and why and who do I talk to, and it's all about timing and sending the right message. That has a lot of close ties with politics as well.
You did mention looking for strategic investment and I guess value-added investment that's not just capital, but also strategy, pull, who knows who.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example? I mean, you've been very much exposed between East and West. What is the core difference between fundraising here, fundraising there? What are the expectations of investors?
I think my first lesson, my biggest lesson here was, I'm Dutch born and raised, so the Dutch are known to be very direct. It's not always sort of appreciated, let me put it this way, rightfully so. The first thing I had to learn in Asia was to be extremely patient. If I have a meeting in the Netherlands or even in the UK or even in Germany, you get to a meeting, you do the pitch, and you literally ask, what do you guys think? Mm-hmm. And likely, in 70% of the cases, you'll get an opinion. You like it, we'll think about it, yes or no, don't ever come back, something like that. In Asia, when I had my first kind of really fundraising meetings, I did my pitch and said, what do you guys think? And I didn't really get an answer. Well, at least not a clear answer. The answer typically was, we'll talk to you guys in like a few months.
We'll call you.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I want an answer like right now, or at least soon. And I kind of learned that it's more about building a relationship than anything else. If you fundraise in the US, for example, you do roadshows, and it's very transactional. You go to the meeting, I'm here to pitch, I'm here to fundraise, you know what I'm here for. I'd like an answer in that direction. So it's either yes or no, or you can give me a maybe, but even a maybe with
direction, right?
The direction, right? So that has been the biggest difference between East and West.
It's very interesting you say that, because I find it so much easier to get a meeting at all in the East compared to the West. I mean, coming from Europe and London myself, getting a meeting in the first place was always a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
But admittedly, once you do, it's transactional.
True.
In the East, everyone's very keen to have a coffee and a drink and socialize
Yeah.
for a year and a half.
Yes. I think a lot of it is around people that invest in. I'll give an example. And I can't mention any names, but I'll give an example of something that happened. So we met a company. They're based in Japan. We met them about, I think, 3.5 years ago. They've never invested in any of our companies, in any of our funds. But we kept on having a conversation, and whenever they were in Singapore, we would have dinner. We would never talk about directly our business. We would talk about the ecosystem, we would talk about life, in some cases talk about family. And we would do the same when we were in Tokyo. They would invite us over for drinks. After 3 years, we started working with them. But it took them 3 years to kind of get an understanding of who we are we here long term, aren't we, a couple of foreigners trying to sort of make
Is this a serious relationship?
Yeah, it's a serious relationship, and I do value that people think about this long term, because they don't want to work with you in this one project. They want to work with you over a longer period of time.
Yeah, it makes it very special or very important to be you as a person of value as opposed to this project being of value.
Yes,
kind of
exactly.
debunks the car salesman. Yeah, I guess it's a bit more impersonal, where you have a relationship with the company as opposed to the person that represents it.
Yeah, we've had people we've met, or companies we've met, and they were like, yeah, we like you guys, send us some deal info and we'll work on it, to having a 3-year-long conversation and then getting to do business together.
And we've talked about fundraising and your approach and life in general. Can you tell me a bit more about the startup appetite and what's going on here in Southeast Asia? I know that's where you're mostly focused. Not necessarily what Golden Gate VC does, but what you think.
On the one hand, you might say the world has gone crazy. Valuations have gone up, skyrocketed. Companies are raising a lot of money. On the other hand, you can say there's actual change. What we're seeing on the ground is, I wouldn't say that companies are disrupting because of technology, but they're disrupting because of business models and broken infrastructure. We're seeing companies in healthcare space attacking incumbents. We're seeing insurance startups attacking incumbents. And we're seeing companies in the payment space that have woken up companies like MasterCard and Visa and like, okay, we need to get in this and be an active investor and an active participator with these startups. We're seeing the likes of MAS, the regulator here in Singapore, doing sandbox with startups, big banks doing POCs. So there has been a big shift in how people perceive startups. And maybe 10 years ago, it was crazy kids in a basement with like stupid ideas and, I don't care about them, to, oh crap, these are serious companies.
This is biting into our revenue long term.
Yeah, and they're attacking our core business, and we need to work with them. So that's definitely been a big shift. I think this year is going to be monumental as well, because of what's happening in the US and all kind of these big companies now finally listing. Either it's going to give liquidity to the early investors, and they're going to reinvest, hopefully. Mm-hmm. They're going to reinvest it into the ecosystem.
It's what you see most, right? I mean, it's investors that either cash out or exit do tend to move on to another project or start a VC or an accelerator.
Yeah.
And reinvest.
Yeah. I feel that unlike any other business, this is very much an ecosystem business where people tend to reinvest into the ecosystem. No one is here to retire early. I mean, there are some exceptions, but no one is here to retire early. I think people like sort of the fact that this is a very young and dynamic business, which kind of gives a lot of fulfillment as well.
So can you tell me a bit more about the difference between the ecosystem, the efficient ecosystem in Southeast Asia in particular, and also how it compares to, say, the West and Europe?
I tell my European friends, and I love them for who they are, but I tell my European friends that you guys have become lazy. And it's become a bit too easy for you guys. Here people have the hunger and the drive. They want to leapfrog, they want to show themselves. They want to make a better living for, sort of their background and their community. I think that is kind of a big differentiator. So companies tend to grow really fast. And as an effect of that, because these companies are growing fast, they attract more capital. I had an early conversation with a large institutional investor, and they said they were impressed by the number of ideas they see in the different countries. And this is all because broken infrastructure. And
it does breed opportunity, right? I mean, you do see quick and rapid evolution of new ideas in the Middle East, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, everywhere the infrastructure is broken, because it's that easy to find a fix.
Absolutely. And those young kids, especially if they have, in some cases, they've gone abroad, they've seen different different countries. They went to Stanford and they decided to come back and start their own business. They are then super inspired by what they've seen abroad and what is possible, and then apply it on their own home market.
Yeah, they realize it doesn't have to be this way.
Exactly, yeah.
Before we wrap up, can you tell me any tips you have or how you'd suggest any young entrepreneur would manage that work-life balance in a similar way you might have?
That's a very good question. So managing work-life balance is super difficult. We've backed a large number of entrepreneurs here in the region, and we know that you want to live up to the expectation. So you're 24/7 focused on the job and getting things done. I do feel that if you have headspace and if you take some time to wind down, you'll just become a better entrepreneur. You literally resting means that you'll see more, you're sharper, you're better on the ball. So you have to sort of preserve energy and have a sort of a healthy balance when it comes to work life. So working hard is fine. I'm glad there's more of a conversation about having a healthy lifestyle, having a better balance, because sort of that 110% hustle and I'm busy, I work 24/7, I never sleep. One, it's not healthy, and if you're not healthy, you're unable to perform, and you're unable to run a company. So I do always advise and try to encourage entrepreneurs to have a healthy lifestyle. Settle down for a little bit before you kind of get back on the grind is something I would advise every single founder.
Tell me a bit more what you do for you and how you manage that work-life balance.
Well, first of all, family. So there's 2 kids, 7 and 3. They keep us busy.
Handful, I'm sure.
They're more than a handful. So it feels like sort of my day is dominated by kind of their wishes most of the time. I try to stay active as well. So I cycle quite a bit. I actually do it on a daily basis.
You say cycle quite a bit. I know that you're pretty much out on the roads almost every morning. Is that right?
Yeah, I try. So the funny thing is, we kind of had a discussion about this a few weeks ago. Why would people get up at 4 a.m, wear some lycra, and get on a bike? I guess it's a bit of meditation for me as well, and sort of a break of a busy day. But yeah, when I'm in Singapore, I basically cycle. I try to cycle every single day. And then I'm also an ambassador for technology, a big distributor of Trek here in Singapore. So I try to be sort of busy in the cycling community as well.
That's great insight, Mike. Thank you so much. I'm afraid that's all the time we have today. Thank you all for watching. That was Michael Lints from Golden Gate.
Thank you.